Chapter 1 Paramattha, the Ultimates, and Citta, Mind. The Four Ultimates. Paramattha. Paramattha is a Pali term which means truth in the highest sense. The ultimate are those which are immutable. Parama plus atta means immutable plus intrinsic nature. The four ultimates, Paramattha, are mind or consciousness, Citta, mental factors, Cittasika, matter, Rupa, and the only absolute reality, Nibbana. How they are immutable. The mental factors, Cittasikas, include Lobha, which is greed, and Dosa, which is hatred. Lobha never changes its intrinsic nature of greed, whether it appears in the mind continuum of the wise, the virtuous, the wicked, or the dogs. Dosa also never changes its nature of hatred or ill will in whosoever beings. It should be noted that other ultimates also maintain their intrinsic natures in the same way. The ultimates are free from bias or partially, and they always manifest by themselves on their own nature. The intrinsic nature of things should be earnestly digested and understood, as explained here, so as to know the mental states of other people, as well as one's own. Maxim 1. The real essence, being constant, steadfast, and unchangeable, is called an ultimate, Paramattha. 2. There are four kinds of ultimates, namely mind, consciousness, mental factors, matter, and Nibbana. Citta, mind or consciousness. That which is conscious of an object is mind. We are conscious of objects all the time. This nature of awareness of objects is called mind or consciousness. Here, awareness does not mean comprehension by knowledge or wisdom. It means ability to take in objects through sense organs. Six objects of senses, six forms of consciousness. 1. All forms of sight. 2. All forms of sound. 3. All forms of smell. 4. All forms of taste. 5. All forms of touch. 6. All other perceptible senses. On seeing a visible object, consciousness of sight appears. On hearing a sound, consciousness of smell appears. On sampling a scent, consciousness of smell appears. On feeling a touch, consciousness of touch appears. On perceiving those five objects of senses and all other perceptible senses, consciousness of mind appears. Thus, the capability of taking in an object concerned is called mind or consciousness, Citta. The nature of mind. Mind can travel afar. It wanders alone. It has no material form, and it generally originates in the cardiac cavity, Hridaya. According to the Dhammapada Pali, it will be explained in detail as expounded therein. A. Mind can travel afar. The mind does not move physically away like a man walking, but as it can take in an object at a distance far away from where you are, it seems as if it has gone there. For example, while you are in Mandalay and think of something or someone in Yangon, your mind does not actually travel to Yangon, but registers its awareness of Yangon while still in Mandalay. As it can perceive an object at distance, it is said, mind can travel afar. B. Mind wanders alone. Consciousness appears and vanishes very swiftly. More than 1 lakh crore of units of consciousness can appear and vanish within one snap of fingers. The appearance and vanishing are so swift that 2 or 3 units of consciousness seem to be able to perceive 2 or 3 objects at the same time. As a matter of fact, 2 or 3 units of consciousness do not appear at the same time. They appear one after another in very quick succession. After one unit of consciousness has perceived an object, another one takes in another object in quick succession. While sitting on a sanded bed, eating and watching singers and dancers, we notice that there are 5 senses objects present, namely sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. The mind does not take in these 5 objects all at the same time. Only after perceiving the object, which we prefer most, we perceive other objects one after another. Thus, 2 or 3 or many units of consciousness do not appear at the same time. Consciousness appears one at a time, so it is said, mind wanders solitary. Moreover, by the word wander, it does not mean going about. It can take in an object at a faraway location. In perceiving a sense object, a single unit of consciousness is not enough for full comprehension. A good number of units of consciousness are required to appear after another in succession. As many billions of such units can appear and vanish within one snap of fingers. We think we perceive a form as soon as we see it. We know a sound as soon as we hear it, or an aroma as soon as we smell it, or we feel a touch as soon as we come into contact with it. See, mind has no material form. The mind has no form or shape. So we cannot say that it is white or black or fat or thin. It is only the perceptibility, the capability of cognizing an object. D. As if dwelling in the cave. Consciousness of seeing originates in the eyes. Consciousness of hearing originates in the ears. Consciousness of smelling originates in the nose. Consciousness of taste originates in the tongue. Consciousness of touch originates in the body organs. Though some forms of consciousness originate thus in the eye, ear, nose, etc., most forms consciousness originate in the cardiac cavity. Therefore, it is said, figuratively, as if dwelling in the cave. In brief, it should be noted that mind, consciousness, has no form. It can perceive a sense object. It has the nature of cognizing an object. While in the process of cognition, it does not go out of its dwelling, even for a hair's breadth, but it can perceive objects far away. 2 or 3 units of consciousness do not appear simultaneously. Each unit appears only one after another in succession. Maxim. The mind can take in sense object. It travels afar, wanders alone, has not physical form, dwells in the cardiac cavity. How good and bad minds mingle with each other. As consciousness appears and vanishes very quickly, the good and bad or the wholesome and unwholesome units of consciousness mingle, even in a short time of 5 minutes. Getting up early in the morning, you pay homage to the Buddha and acquire a good mind. At that time, when you hear someone calling you to go shopping, you develop greed. As someone comes and says something detrimental, you tend to get angry. Even when you are involved in greed while doing some trading, if you happen to think of giving charity, that is a wholesome thought of Citta, belief in beneficial effects of charity. When you are angry with someone or something, you happen to remember your teacher's advice or admonition, and good mindfulness appears again. While the husband and wife are chatting with lust in mind, they become angry because of some misunderstanding. When one of them makes an apology and proposes reconciliation, the mind becomes tender and lustful again. As consciousness changes very quickly, you should carefully differentiate between good and bad units of consciousness whenever they appear and try to cultivate many units of wholesome consciousness. As matter, forms are different, minds are different. Just as the form or shape of a man is different from that of another, so the mind of one person is also unlike that of another. Just as a heavy, clumsy body is quite different from an animated, sprightly, so an obtuse, stolid mind is quite different from a vivacious, sparkling one. There are beautiful and lovely persons who outdo others in beauty and charm. In the cases of ugliness also, there are ugly persons who are as base as Pitta, ghosts, or demons. Concerning different kinds of good and sharp minds, there are minds of varying grades from the ordinary to the unique. Likewise, concerning different kinds of bad and evil minds, there are varying degrees of wickedness and abject stupidity. Just as there are differing degrees of gracefulness in physique, with those winning the laurels of beauty and charm at the top, there are different classes of unsightliness with pitta and demons at the bottom step of ugliness. Similarly, there are different grades of wholesome group of minds, ranging from the ordinary to the most noble spirits, with the sharpest of intellects, and different levels of unwholesome category of mind, stretching from the wicked, evil, repulsive types to the most heinous with abject stupidity. Mind can be tamed. If someone born and brought up in the country emulates the vogue and way of living of the urbanites, trains oneself physically and mentally, one's rupa, physical appearance, will also change and becomes fashionable and stylish within 1 or 2 years beyond recognition by their old acquaintance. Thus, if physical forms, which are slow to change, can be made to improve, why shouldn't it be possible to tame their minds, which will soon be able to monitor and suppress unwholesome elements in their unruly mind and develop its wholesome nature to the point of gaining one's own esteem? Why the mind should be reformed? There are many reasons why we should reform our minds. We ourselves know best the weakness and foibles of our minds. Even though some wicked people attain high status in worldly affairs, if they can even mean or base in moral character, they will be reborn in lower abodes in their next existences. For this reason, they should reform their minds and become noble. The wicked will lose self-respect. Their brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, bhikkhu, monks to whom they make offerings, and their intimates will not love, revere, and respect them, lest they should thus be looked down upon their intimates. They should reform their minds and become pure, honest, and noble. Moreover, people cannot believe that the wicked will be honest and sincere, even they give away in dana, charity, observe shila, precepts, and practice bhavana, meditation. Because of their wickedness, their karma will not bring wholesome benefits. Thus, out of fear of getting unwholesome consequences, they should reform their minds and become pure, honest, and noble. Moreover, the wicked will be wicked, not only in the present existence, but their evil nature will continue to prevail successively in great many future existences. Because their entire physical and mental continuum have been suffused with wicked minds, it is impossible for them to attain sufficiency of accumulated virtues. Therefore, for fear of not becoming mature in perfections, parami, They should discipline their wicked minds immediately. These are the reasons why people should reform their minds. How King Milinda disciplined his mind. Having asked the Venerable Nagasena some questions, King Milinda thought of asking more questions that would be very important for Sasana, the teaching of the Buddha. However, he waited for 7 days and disciplined his mind concentration. This is quite a good example for the virtuous to follow. How he prepared himself. He rose early in the morning, took a bath, attired himself in a dyed yellow dress, and put on a headdress, concealing his hair to resemble a shaven head. In other words, he attired himself like a bhikkhu, though he was not one, and observed meticulously the following 8 precepts for 7 whole days. 1. I will not perform regal duties for 7 days. 2. I will restrain myself from raga, greed. 3. I will restrain myself from dosa, hatred. 4. I will restrain myself from moha, delusion. 5. I will be humble and modest in dealing with my subjects and courtiers, and restrain myself from conceit. 6. I will carefully restrain my words and actions. 7. I will restrain my sense organs, i.e., eyes, ears, etc., to be free from unwholesome thoughts when seeing, hearing, and experiencing sense objects. 8. I will radiate a loving kindness to all living beings. He observed these 8 precepts for 7 days, and on the 8th day, he rose in the morning and in a cheerful, cool, and calm attitude, he asked the Venerable Nagasena questions on the profound Dhamma. A good example. Following the example of King Milinda, good people should often practice restraining their minds, even if it is for 1 or 2 days, for just one morning, so that evil thoughts that habitually arise shall not appear. By repeating practice of restraining their minds, evil thoughts will get diminished, and they will become noble and virtuous with development of faith and knowledge. Evil thoughts that occur will not appear for many days. The mind guides the world, the mind leads the world. All beings have to submit to the will of the mind. Maxim. Just as you prepare yourself properly before posing for a photograph, so as to get a good one, just so you should control your series of thoughts daily as a preparation for your journey to the royal city of peace, Nibbana.